You read that right. A simple bearing failure in these engines can cost you $25,000. Let's get started. This is a 2004 Porsche Boxster 986S with a 3.2 liter. It is in very good condition with only 33,000 miles on it. Today I'm going to do two things. I'm going to show you how you can check for an IMS bearing condition really quickly, and I'm also going to piss off the Porsche purist with a bold statement. There is a bearing in this engine that runs an intermediate shaft inside of it that when it fails, it sends metal all through the engine and destroys it. You guys have watched Hoovie's Garage. You know he has Apollo 911, which has an LS2 in it that I installed and still runs to this day, drives it around, and is very fast. But when he bought it, he took it to a track several times and he cooked the IMS bearing on it and it shelled out and it destroyed the engine. It's kind of sad, but not really, because the finished product was so amazing. These are an inherent problem with the 911 and the 986 Boxster. They both share the same engine architecture. The engines, one size is a little bigger, 3.6 or 3.4. This one is either 2.7 or 3.2. So they got some different displacement sizes, but pretty much is the same engine for the most part. And they also share the same problems with the IMS bearing failure. Luckily there is a fix for these, and when it's fixed, it stays fixed pretty much for the life of the car. It's a poor design from the factory, but once it's addressed, which there are many aftermarket companies that sell aftermarket ceramic bearings or bearings that are lubricated from a separate oil line, which keeps them from grenading basically. There's all kinds of options. Here's kind of a picture of what I'm talking about. You can see in that picture when you remove the flywheel, which you have to take the transmission out to do that, you can actually get to the little cap that actually contains the IMS bearing. It's not too hard of a job, it's just very time consuming. You have to make sure you do everything just right, or you could actually get the engine out of time and cause some issues with the timing chains. So you have to know what you're doing. I've done about 4 sets of those, and they're still driving around today, those vehicles, so it turned out really good. It can run anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, $6,000 to get that done. It depends on what aftermarket kit you choose, which there's a varying range of price. And it never fails when we pull the transmission or motor or whatever it would be to get to it. You find other things. Hey, this is leaking, that's leaking. Hey, while we're at it, let's go ahead and do the rear main seal. Let's do this, let's do that. And pretty soon the price goes up even more. So the claim, it could cost $25,000. If this bearing were to go bad, I will show you what a good used engine costs. You saw that right, $11,000 for a good used engine. You add a little bit more to install it and gaskets and things, and it will be cheaper than $25,000. But if you wanted a new reman engine to fix your shelled out engine, you could be at $25,000 very, very easily. You can hear all kinds of stories where people do things to their Porsche engines. The engines themselves are $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 for new engines. They're so expensive. So let's go ahead and take a look around this thing. It is in very nice condition. There is the front of this 2004, and it has really nice clear lenses all the way around, and it looks really, really nice. I do like the yellow color. It's very bright, very showy. And you can see the paint is very glossy. And we got some nice wheels with some, looks like some General tires on it, D-Max or G-Max, something like that. We have checked the brakes already, and they are all in very good shape. And you can see in the background we have a guest appearance from Tyler Hoover's Hoovie's Garage 911 project that he's doing. It's not complete yet, and you guys have seen it on his videos already, so it's not me unveiling something I shouldn't. You've seen everything already. We're going to do some comparisons here in a little bit. This is a Boxster S as denoted. This actually has a little aerodynamic wing right here that will pop up at certain speeds. It's a really cool feature. And you guys are seeing, just as I am, this thing is immaculate. It is in very, very nice shape. Let's go ahead and check out the engine.
Wizard! what are you doing?
I'm just showing everyone that's watching that doesn't know a whole lot about Porsches that know. There's no engine up here. So there's nothing in the front but a trunk. There's nothing up there, so it has to be right here, right? Wrong. Another trunk. The only thing that's in here, there's an oil dipstick, an oil fill, and a little cap there. Some access to some things that go to the engine, but there's nothing here that is actually the engine. On these, you have to partially open the convertible top to about this position here. Then you can remove a panel and actually see the engine, which we'll do here real quick. So I disconnected these little cables here that just pop off the little ball. And here we can see these little plastic caps. I'm not going to take it all apart. You take these caps off and take this little carpeted shell off, and that's how you get to the engine on a Boxster. So these can be a little bit tight to work on. That's basically how you get to the engine. It's not back here. It's not up there. So if you're going to check out a Boxster, you're thinking about buying one, don't even look weird and start looking in the weird wrong places. It's in the center of the car. So let's go ahead and hop into the interior and take a look at that.
Okay, ladies and gents, here we are in this beautiful Porsche interior, and look at that dash. I love the concentric circles around that tachometer. Looks absolutely stunning. As we move up, you'll see that the dash is in superb condition. Dark charcoal gray, no cracks, nothing going on there. So we move down, you can see where our airbag is, and we slide over, we'll see there's our radio.
Mrs. Wizard.
Yes?
This is not a Boxster. This is the 911. This is Hoovie's 911.
What? Really?
Haha, had you guys fooled. You didn't even know what you're looking at, did you? Let's go ahead and take a look at the real car. So right now I'm going to make my bold claim. The next step we'll show you guys after the interior review, the IMS bearing check. But my bold claim is, and this has pissed off people in the past, is from the door jamb right here forward. It is identical to a 911. This pissed off a lot of people when they came out with the Boxster. There's people saying, I just paid double the price for a 911 and a 986 is much cheaper, and it's almost the same car. That really got a lot of Porsche people pissed off when the Boxsters came out. I'll show you guys more about that, but let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys the real Boxster 986 interior. They're so similar, you guys didn't even know.
Those of you that are enthusiasts, you're going to see some differences here. Sorry about that earlier, but you see it does have 33,642, and this is a Garage Princess. She is in beautiful condition, and look, doesn't that look familiar? Doesn't that look like just what we saw? So you move down, there's that airbag. One thing that is different is that this does have a glove box, but our radios are the same. Now, do mind you that what we were just in was an 01, this is an 04, so 3 years difference. One thing that's kind of fun, all right, we don't have too many hidey holes in here, but this is a fun CD changer. The red does denote that he does have a CD in there. He has a mixed CD as well. As we move back, everything is in pristine condition. It has a really fun two-tone carbon fiber shifter knob there because this is a fun 5-speed manual transmission. We do see the light wasn't quite so bright. There we go. Let me turn it down. Have Porsche on our parking brake with some more carbon fiber as well. It does have a couple little hidey holes, but there's nothing in them. So we have one here, have one here. If we push the button, pops up, has a tire gauge. Told you, wasn't too much going on in these hidey holes. One thing that is different is here is this door card, here is the seat in really good shape. The difference is once you get to that midpoint, things get a little different, and there we go. We have no back seat. This is a true two-seater. The 911 next door does have a little bit of a back seat. Not sure how comfortable that would be or how many people would really want to sit there, but there is not even an option here. This does have a lot of yellow decals in here. We have a yellow roll cage. We also have a yellow seat belt. As we end up at our steering wheel, see that the owner has put on a steering wheel protector is my guess, because this is in such perfect condition. I can't imagine there's any damage to that steering wheel, and he's just keeping it in perfect shape. But we've got more yellow accents as well. And even if we slide over, you can see that the key also has a yellow cover on top of it. So yellow is the name of the game for this owner. So enough of this interior talk. Let's get this up in the air and figure out what's going on with that IMS bearing. Wow, it looks a little bit like a runway under here.
Yeah, they have a lot of panels for airflow. Makes it nice and smooth on the bottom. The radiator on this car is not going to be right here in the front. They'll actually be on the sides. You can see one is right there with a fan. It's nice and dry there. And there's the other side. Not going to be a whole lot that can leak up here other than a steering rack or a fuel tank. Our struts are nice and dry. The brakes are good. Sway bar link is good. Everything's nice and tight there. Brakes are good. They're about 60% remaining. Sway bar link is good. The strut is nice and dry. Nothing loose there. Down the middle, underneath these panels, are coolant pipes and oil pipe, all kinds of different things going on here. There can be leaks that you can find that go all the way back to the engine with pipes and things that are in the middle. We'll check these back wheels real quick, and then we'll dive into the engine. Sway bar link is good, strut is good, CV boots are good, and brakes are good. Nothing loose there. Brakes are good, sway bar link is good, CV boots are good, strut is dry, nothing loose there. This is our 3.2 engine, which on the Boxster it sits with the engine forward. The transmission or transaxle is actually back here. On the 911, which is beside us, it's backwards. You guys know that already, a lot of you. The engine is back here, and the transaxle is up here. So there's major differences from basically driver and passenger seat back is completely different than a 911. Everything's nice and dry under here. Everything looks great. We've actually checked it all out. I'm going to go get my drain pan and I'm going to go ahead and take this oil filter housing off. You guys remember, if you watch Hoovie's Garage from a long time ago, we removed the oil filter canister from his 996 when it had shelled the IMS bearing. And when we dumped the oil out, it looked like glitter. It was like gold chunks of metal completely filled in there. When they're starting to fail, maybe not fully failed yet, you will still start finding all of those metallic pieces. It looks like glitter basically inside of the canister. Get yourself a nice white clean bucket. You don't need to drain the oil. You don't need to do anything else, just the oil filter canister. That alone, this little guy alone, will say yes or no if you have IMS issues. Let's go ahead and get this guy off of here. Here's our filter. Now we'll go ahead and we'll keep the oil that's inside this canister, just leave it there for a minute. Let me grab my light, which is going to be all oily, but that's okay. We're actually going to look in the little pleats of this filter inside of it and see if there's any metallic shavings. I don't see any. It looks very, very clean. Let's set that aside. A little bit of oil that has fallen down into this bucket, we'll kind of swish it around and see if we see any gold metal flakes. I don't see anything. So now let's go ahead and empty the actual canister. If there's any IMS damage, the flakes will be inside of this canister and you will know right away. Let's go ahead and dump it slowly. Don't dump it fast. Kind of dump it all along the side so it thins out. You can see if there's any flakes. And I'm not seeing anything. It looks very, very clean. Wonderful. That's good news. Very good news. I'm going to go ahead and put this back on here because Danielson's going to be doing an oil change on it. I don't want him to start the engine and this thing is off. somehow a miscommunication or something. So we'll definitely play it safe and just put it back on. I definitely wanted to show you guys though that that is a guaranteed tip that you can check if the IMS bearing is failing or not. So now I've got my hands all cleaned up. Let's go ahead and get this thing back on the ground. Just like in this picture, this is what it would look like if you opened up that filter and found a bunch of metal debris. That's when you know your IMS bearing is failing. If you just see a little bit of glitter, it's probably time to get it changed, and you probably didn't ruin the engine. But if it looks like someone took a bottle of glitter and just dumped it in your oil filter, your engine's probably done. All the bearings and stuff has all that material in it. Definitely a way to check for the IMS bearing. Now, back to my bold statement before we close out the video. From the passenger or driver's seat forward, a 986 is identical to a Porsche 911. I'll underline the word, identical. It really did piss off a lot of people when they came out with these Boxsters because of that reason. I can take this fender right here, unbolt it, and come bolt it in over here on this 996. This is a turbo and it does have a little bit different headlights, and it is 3 years older. But I could take this hood right here off of this 911 and directly bolt it to this 986 Boxster. I can take the wheels, the brakes, the struts, the steering rack, the fuel pump, the fuel tank, and they will all identically bolt to this 911. And obviously you guys just saw a shot of both interiors. I did that to trick you guys up, and I'm pretty sure it worked, because I could take the steering wheel or the dash or the speakers or the cluster on these two vehicles and just swap them. They'll just bolt right up. Literally identical.
Okay, Wizard, then, if they're identical, can I buy the parts cheaper for a Boxster to put into the 911?
No, the aftermarket or the parts companies out there already know that. They know that one will bolt onto the other, so the prices are going to be about the same. The overall package, obviously this car is faster. It is the pinnacle Porsche vehicle in 911. I'm not saying that this can do what this can do, but as far as handling and probably 80% of everything that this can do, this can do. There's actually been many claims by people that since this engine sits in the middle and not hanging out the back end like a 911, that the Boxster actually handles way, way better than a 911. That was actually proved by Tyler from Hoovie's Garage when he had a Boxster. I think we were filming the first series of car issues. It was a black Boxster. He tried to do a burnout and it wouldn't do it. And it wasn't because it didn't have enough power. It just handles and grips so good. It really is that good of a car, guys. Euro-Asian Bob has actually told me, and I've heard this many times before, and I agree, for the money, let me underline that phrase, for the money, there is not a better sports car you can buy on earth than a 986 Boxster.
Oh good, I will look so good in one.
Yes, we definitely need to get you one. They are that great of a car. 0 to 60, they're not a barn burner. They're not going to race up against a GTR or something like that, or a Murcielago. Obviously, that's not the hallmark of a Porsche anyways. But they handle amazing, and they are fairly quick, and they look really great. And for 15 grand or somewhere around there, 12 grand, you can go buy one that's nice. Not 70 grand or 120. But if you're going to look at one of these and you ask the seller about the IMS, has it been replaced, and they're just kind of, I don't know. Say, well, we're not going to go any further till we pull the oil filter canister. I need to see with my own eyes that that's clean in there before we go any further. That's a quick way that you can check without doing any major teardowns. It's a very, very reliable method. It may make a mess. You may want to get this on a lift or have it done that way. You're not going to lose enough oil to really squawk about or anything like that. But it's definitely a way to see where are we at with the IMS bearing. If it's never been done and the filter is clean, it's probably time to do it before it fails. So for the money, if I had a choice between these two, and this one was immaculate as well, not all modified and everything, which is kind of cool. Hoovie's project is actually coming along very nicely. You need to go to his channel to check out the progress and some of the things he's got going on there. But if I had an identical 911 Turbo to a Boxster, I would choose the Boxster and spend the other $60,000 or $70,000 on something else cool.
Oh good, we'll get you something cool then, after you get me my Boxster.
We can look into that. We definitely need to find you a Boxster. So if you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this Boxster or any other car in the shop, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because summer's coming, which means bus videos are coming. Thanks for watching.